Dreams play an important role in our lives, as many figures in the Bible are said to have been visited by God during their sleep.
Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers.
Listen,
He said,
I had another dream, and this time the sun and moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me.
Welcome to Understanding Your Dreams, presented by Pastor Peter Kansembe from Praise Christian Center. This program has been tailor-made so that you can determine how much attention to pay to the meaning of your dreams. The dream is for the dreamer. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Understanding Your Dreams. My name is Pastor Peter Kansembe from Praise Christian Center. Once again, I bring to you greetings from our Bishop, Dr. Edgar Ngambi. As usual, we start by reading from Job chapter 33 and verse 14. The Bible reads, For God may speak once, yes, twice, yet man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men, while slumbering upon their beds, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose, hide pride from man, keep his soul back from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. So God may speak in so many different ways, and one of those ways he has chosen to speak to us and to anyone is through dreams. He says in this particular sleep that passage that when deep sleep falls upon men, he opens the ears. This is a time that man has resigned from the activities of the day and from the things that have preoccupied him. God creates a platform or a stage. He says he opens his ears. To open is to create an audience or a platform through which a message can be delivered. And so when it is sealed, it leaves a lasting impression that is not usually forgotten. And so that's what it means when it says he seals an instruction. And so some have a dream and they wake up and it's lingering. For some, it evaporates within a few minutes. For others, it may be there for a day or even two. Like if you remember the dreams of Pharaoh and Nebuchadnezzar, they had dreams that troubled them for some time until an answer was given to them. So there are some that come with a very strong seal. And the reason that God does this is to keep man from distraction. So a man may be very proud, maybe stubborn, arrogant, may not be willing to listen to counsel from anybody. And so God may decide to send them a word in the night. And so we continue looking at dreams. We've been looking at a series of dreams, looking at doors. And some have had those dreams at the beginning of this year that are showing them doors. And so we are still exploring the meaning of doors, understanding doors, and see how far God will take us. And perhaps as we look at doors, God will speak to you in one way or in another way, or bring clarity to what he has been speaking to you. So in this part 3 of doors, we are looking at transit dreams. So transit dreams, we are looking at them because a door is primarily a transit point. And so a transit point is a place where you have passage from one point to the other, or you cross, or a place where you have an access to a different place, such as a bridge. It may be a transit point. You're crossing a river and you're going to another place. So there are many examples of doorways. Some are similar. And so as we look at doors and transits, we are looking at things that are similar to doors. So we said that a door is symbolic of decisions and choices. And now we are going a bit further than decisions and choices to seeing that it's actually a transit point. Usually you don't stay in the doorway for a long time. On average, it will take you about half a second to go through a doorway, unless it's a passage that you're going through. Otherwise, for most doors, just half a second you'll be out and through. So meaning that a door is not a place where you're expected to spend a lot of time. So a doorway is similar to a gate, and it's a point that is also similar to a station. Of course, at a station you may have to wait a bit. At the airport you may have to wait a bit. At the bus stop you may have to wait to catch your bus or catch your flight. But the essence is the same, that it's a transit point. You do not go to an airport to live there forever, or to a bus stop to live there forever. It's a transit point. It's like a doorway to another place. And so things like public transport, they seem to point to the same concept of a doorway, because they are transit points and doors are transit points. So a door, like I said, is a place where you don't expect to have fixed residence. So you might have this dream where you are seeing doors standing before you, or you have these dreams where you are walking through doors. It may be one door, it may be several doors. If you are going through several doors, then you know that you are going to have to make several passages. God is perhaps speaking to you that you are going to go through several changes or passages to come to the place where you He wants you to be. So a door standing open, like it says in Revelation chapter 4 and verse 1, I saw a door standing open in the heaven. A door standing open is significant of the fact that it announces some sort of a realignment or things being changed or set in position. So he says, Revelation 4 verse 1, after this I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven. And the voice that was speaking like a trumpet said to me, come up here. So the coming up is a change of an environment. It's a rapid change. If you look at Revelation 3 verse 8, it says, I know your works. Behold, I have set an open door before you. No one can shut it. So Christ again says an open door. We said an opportunity. But we want to push further and see. So a door standing open is an announcement of a temporal residence or a very quick change. So, for example, a person will go across a bridge depending on how long the bridge is. The fact is that you are not there for a long time. So a door is significant of change, transit, or a movement across. Now the earth, we know that, is the largest transit point, like it says in James 1 verse 11. The rich may be like flowers, but they die. In 1 Peter 1:24, it says that man is like the flower of a field. This time it is shining, and this time it is gone. It appears now, and it's no longer there. So we know that the earth is the biggest or largest transit point. But then it's a change of environment that we are looking at. So transit can be slow, and transit can be fast. And so we want to look now at this symbol so that you can go back to your dream, see the atmosphere that was in a dream. Maybe you were standing in the doorway, lingering by the doorway, or you were moving very fast through the doorway, or running through a doorway. And so all these things are important. Or you were just staring at the doorway and not decided whether to go through the doorway or just to stand. So now we start looking at dreams that talk about transit and similar to doorways. The first one we look at is walking. So there are times that people send in a dream and say they dreamt they were walking. And some say that they don't know where they were going. Some say they were walking. Some were walking slow. Others were fast. One of the things you need to take note of when you have these walking dreams, take note of the road. Is it a tarred road? Is it a gravel road? Is it a muddy road? Is it slippery? Because walking is transitioning. It's like moving from home, you are going to school, you are transitioning. It's a transit activity. So now if the road is tarred, then you know that this journey is going to be smooth. I'm not likely to stumble on anything. If it is gravel, you know that, of course, some gravel roads are good, some are rough. There may be a lot of wear and tear. If you are walking barefooted, you may hit yourself against a stone. So you know that there are a few obstacles. It's not as smooth as the first one. And then there are those roads which have potholes. So if you are dreaming you are walking or it's a potholed road, then you know that there are issues to be overcome in this transitioning journey. Then there are muddy places or slippery places. In Psalm 73, Asaph says, I know now. He says, my feet had almost slipped when I looked at the wicked. They were prosperous. They had no troubles common to man. But when he went into the house of God, then he saw that they were standing on slippery ground, not assured grounds. So you may be walking, and the walk you are taking on is on a ground that is muddy or slippery. Then you know that the transition I'm making is not secured. You might be praying and thinking that this door that has opened is really for me, but as you are walking, you keep slipping and falling. You know that you are going to make a transition that may be harmful. So maybe you need to take a step backward and say, Lord, do I really need to take this step? And then there are those that see themselves riding bicycles. Now, a bicycle is symbolic of human effort. Of course, walking is human effort, but a bicycle is also a lot of human effort just to get you across somewhere. Now, a bicycle is also an instrument where you're not going to have so many people. I think at the most you can carry 1 people. It's a very limited capacity. So you may be transitioning and your capacity may be very limited. Your ability may be limited. So you may not do as much as you want. So you might be seeing yourself on a journey, riding on a bicycle, maybe with a small bag. You may not carry so much. It may tell you about a transition that you might go through. There may not be so many things around you, but it's going to be a bit faster than walking, but slow. Some transitions are fast, some are slow. A motorcycle, less human effort, but then again, it's a bit faster, much better, a bit comfortable, but you still know that this is not a very quick journey. And then there are those who see themselves in a car or in a bus or in a plane. Now, if you are in a car, you need to take note of who is in the car with you, who is on this journey. A lot of times people say, I dreamt I was in a car with church members. It was going very fast. Some say we reached this very nice meeting, and it may be talking about the transition that your church is making with its members to that place where God wants them to be. Or some say, I had a dream and we were with church members and we were lost, or we reached a dead end. We didn't know where to go. Again, it may be talking about the transition that you are making and you are not certain, you don't know where you are going. And because of that, you may need to reconsider and step back and say, are we going in the right direction? Am I leading people to the right place? It's worse if you don't even know who is driving. Then you don't know who is driving your movement. You will still transition, but you might arrive where you didn't intend to be. It's like being influenced. Paul says that do not be unequally yoked with non-believers. There are those agreements, those yokes that people get into, and they find themselves on a journey that they don't want to be. So a plane, like I said, it is a very fast movement, very quick movement. Some people dream they are at the airport, or others dream they are on a plane flying. Now, a plane takes off from the ground, so it may be a supernatural effort. It may be something unusual, something beyond your ability that comes to move you. There are opportunities that come unexpected, unplanned. You are not prepared for them. You can't even qualify for them. But God just supernaturally opens those doors for you. I would compare this to the promotion of Esther. When you look at Esther in the Bible, she was an orphan living in the with the uncle, and when the king, the opportunity, the door was open for the king to marry. They got these beautiful girls, but if you look at where she's coming from, she's a Jewess. She's automatically disqualified by just her nationality, and so she has to disguise herself that she's not a Hebrew girl actually for some time. And so we see that that open door is there for her, and the transition is there. It takes a bit of time. They have to go through training. They have to go through preparation. Eventually, she comes to a place where she is chosen by the king. That is a transition. And you will notice again that similar things happen to us. There are transitions that God shows us. Some is like you are in a plane. Some is like you are in a car. I know now there are electric trains. You may even have that type of a dream. It may tell you about a very, very quick change. Now, I'll show you from the Bible that there are things that can really change very rapidly, faster than we think, and still those will be doors that God opened. The significant thing is for you to know that when this doorway is standing open, there is something that God is communicating to you. So one size does not fit all. So you need to listen to all these things and see what God is laying in your heart. So again, like we said, an airport, a bus stop is a place of waiting. So sometimes you may be in a place where God is changing things around your life, and He shows you are in an airport, and the plane that is supposed to take you has not even landed. God may be appealing to your patience. Be patient, wait, do not be in a hurry, because there are times that we are in a haste, and in that haste we make mistakes. So all these things we can take note of them and just learn from the scriptures. So others dream that they are going in cycles. Now, if you are going in cycles, again, it means you are going nowhere. Now, if you are going nowhere, sometimes you need to ask yourself, how did I arrive at this point of being in a transition where I'm going nowhere? You can look at Numbers 14. In Numbers 14, they refused to enter the promised land, and as a result, they started circling about because of the fear of the giants. Some people dream they're in airports, at the airport or at the bus stop, and they are missing their flights, they are missing their opportunity. For this one, remember the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. 5 had oil and they were ready. 5 were not ready for the opportunity. So even when this door opened, you see that the 5 went through and the others were late. So in this time when you see an open door, you need to make sure that you are ready. Seek the Lord. How do I need to prepare? How do I need to be ready? So that when the door opens for me, I will not be like those foolish virgins who missed the opportunity that was present before them. So now we want to look at a few more scriptures just to add substance to what we are looking at: the open doors, the transitions, the transits. If you look at Genesis chapter 12, for example, we see that there is a long transition there. Abraham is told, leave your father's house, go to the house that I will show you. You'll be a father of many nations. And that is a promise. The day he took the first step, his transition started. And with this, you will notice that God does not always tell us how long the transition will be, how long the change will take place. But it's like you enter a doorway and you have started. And from the time that he took this journey, it took about 25 years for him to see Isaac. But one thing we know is that the journey started and the journey was in motion and he arrived at this destination. If you look at the journey of in 1 Samuel chapter 8, Saul is anointed as king. This journey was very fast. And that's why I'm saying that you will notice that there are doors that are very fast in your life and there are some that seem to be slow. And this is where sometimes people complain, why is it that I pray for some things and the following day it is answered, and the things that they feel are so important to them, they seem to take ages to be answered. So in 1 Samuel chapter 8, we see Saul is anointed as king. From the way the story opened up, somebody would say maybe this was a 1 week event or 2 weeks event, but it was a very, very fast thing. He is anointed. Saul says, I will meet you. He goes, he comes, he meets the people, he's anointed. Very, very fast. There are things that will happen like that in the season that a door is open, when God sends you those dreams of doors that are very quick. Some things can happen faster than you think. And yet we see the same story in 1 Samuel chapter 16. This time David is anointed as king. And it takes him 20 years to get to the throne. The other guy, maybe it took him a week, maybe 2 weeks from the time he is anointed to become king. And the other guy, it takes him about 20 years. The journey is the same, the mission is the same, the assignment is the same. So don't compare your fruits with other people's fruits. You might be looking at a friend. This one we prayed last week, God has answered. For me, we prayed the same day. It has taken a year and my answer is still impending. This is the type that we see that took place in the life of David. So some transitions are fast, some are slow, but just know that something is moving on. In Genesis chapter 39, we see another slow pace. We see that Joseph had a dream about the future. The day he was thrown in the pit, the transition began, the movement began. That was his doorway, that was his transportation to Egypt, where he was going to be the king. And so sometimes there are circumstances in life that come, they do not look as friendly as we want. If you look at Joseph and David, both had very uncomfortable rides. If you look at the examples I was giving about the roads, if we compare them to Saul, David, we look at Abraham and Joseph. From this, I would say that Saul would be like one who has a dream is walking on tarmac or on a third road. It's very smooth, very easy, and quickly he's in the palace. If you look at Abraham, would say that this is a type of a dream where somebody had a dream, and perhaps they are walking through. They are going on a gravel road. It's not as comfortable as they want, because on the way they meet a pothole, and Ishmael is born. If you look at David's transition as well, this one would be like somebody who is really moving on a road with potholes. Because after being anointed, firstly the king tries to kill him, then he has to fight so many enemies. But his journey is in motion. And this is the same that we see about Joseph. It's a slow pace. He goes through pits. And so if you have these dreams, you are walking through a doorway, or you have a similar transition dream, walking on the road or driving on the road, potholes, then you know that there are some issues on the journey, but I will get where I am going. So God does not always announce the time frame. There are times that God or want to announce to you so that you are prepared. And yet there are many times that God does not announce to us the time frame. And so when we look at a few examples, for example, like when we look at Abraham, he was told that he would be a father of many nations. And then he was also told the time that he slept, he offered a sacrifice and he was busy chasing away the birds. But when deep sleep came upon him, the Lord said to him, know for sure that your descendants will be slaves in a land for 400 years. Now, God was very specific about timing, that they would be there for 400 years. And yet he never told him that from the time I have announced to you that you'll be a father of many nations, it will take 25 years or so. So sometimes God may say it, sometimes he may not. Our role is just to believe him, to trust him that he will make it right for him. In the same way, when David was anointed, he's feeling good. He is the king, and I can imagine when Saul calls him to the palace, he goes there, and he's already beginning to rehearse perhaps how to walk like a king, but not knowing that what is carrying him, what he's carrying on his life has a time frame of 20 years. So it's a journey. It's like those who have dreams, they are on a journey. It takes long to arrive. It may be one of those, but once the door has opened, it has opened. So David had to wait for kingship. Again, when you look at Noah, God simply told him to get in the ark, and he never told him that you'll be here for a year. If you read the passage, the scriptures in Genesis, you will notice that Noah was in that ark for a period of 1 year. I suppose that when he was going in and he trained and it poured, perhaps he thought this will be a short ride. It will be just for maybe a week, maybe 2 months. But that was his escape door. The ark was his escape door. And that escape door, he had to live in it for 1 year. So a doorway can be so many things. I also want to remind you and encourage you that some of the transitions are actually timed. God can actually even make clear the time. For example, when he speaks to the captives before they go into captivity, he says that when the 70 years are up, I will come to you. So they knew that they were going to be in Babylon for 70 years because you are dealing with a timed promise. There are times that God will fix time. Not every case, but sometimes he will fix time. If you look at Abraham, when finally he receives the visitors, Abraham and Sarah are told, by this time next year you shall have a son. So God can time. He timed their doorway, their transit. They had moved for a long time. Finally, when the exit was there out of barrenness, out of childlessness, he comes and says, by this time next year, you will hold a baby in your hand. So there are times that God can decide to say things like that. If you look at the story in 2 Kings, when there's a great famine, a great drought, and people are actually selling the dung from pigeons as food, when Elisha comes up and he says, by this time tomorrow the price of wheat will be like this, and the armor bearer to the king says, even if God was to open the windows of heaven, such a thing cannot happen. But God had already set time, by this time tomorrow. There are dreams that God can even put timing, and you can even know that this time God set it in my dream, and precisely according to that time you may just experience the grace of God moving like that. In Daniel chapter 5 and verse 26, this is the famous story of mene tekel. Your kingdom has been numbered and it has come to an end. There again we see a very, very fast transition. Daniel is prophesying in the evening. By morning, we see that Belshazzar is not the king. The maids have come in. You will find also this in Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 1 to 5. It is a prophecy that relates to Daniel chapter 5 verse 26. He says, before you I set the double doors, I open before you the double door gates. So again, God opened the way. It was a very sudden movement. It was a very fast movement. So doorways can be places of sudden change. It's just like when you are in your room, it's very hot and maybe the air outside is very cool, and you open a door and suddenly the air rushes in and the atmosphere changes. So doorways can be places of very sudden change, very quick change. It is like the story in Esther chapter 7 and verse 6. This is the story of Haman. He was plotting to kill the Jews. He was planning to destroy them until finally the queen said, this is the wicked Haman who has been plotting against my people. And the king heard the sentence. He wanted to hang Mordecai. And then the sentence was given to Haman. He said the very gallows where he wanted to hang Mordecai, that is where you are going to hang him. So it was a very quick change, very fast change. An atmosphere completely changed. So a doorway can be a place of suddenlies, a lot of suddenlies. You may just find suddenly you have been resident in one town and all of a sudden you have an opportunity in another town. For some it may be suddenly an opportunity is open in another country, or some other people it is a different suddenly. So just know that the doorway is a place of suddenlies, quick transitions. Sometimes it's like moving from the darkness to light. And I know that we have emphasized that the doorway is an open door, come up before me, but we also want to leave with this with you, that a doorway can also be a great exit. For example, when you look at the children of Israel, as they left Egypt, it was a big doorway through the Red Sea, and so an open door can be a great exit. So you need to pay attention. Maybe God is exiting you from one point to another point. So you just need to see if there are signs on your door, entry or exit. Take note of those things in those dreams, because God may just be moving you from one place to the other. So we've been looking at doorways, and in this series, in this segment, we've looked at doorways and transitions, and I trust the Lord has blessed you in one way or the other. Until the next time, this is Pastor Peter Kansembe from Praise Christian Center. You may like my page on Facebook, Peter Kansembe, Understanding Dreams, or you may send in your questions by text or WhatsApp to 0961 500 512, 0961 500 512, and we'll be more than glad to assist you. Until the next time, shalom.
You have